My brother told everyone I was a drug addict to steal my job offer, so I showed up with receipts at his workplace and watched him get marched out. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've spent most of my life living in my brother's shadow. Rian, 2 years older, louder, smoother, and endlessly charming, was everything my parents could have wanted in a son. By the time I was old enough to realize how differently we were treated, it was already cemented. He was the golden child. I was the quiet one, the indoor kid, the one who thought too much and needed to toughen up. When Ryan got a B+, it was celebrated with pizza night. When I brought home straight A's, my dad would glance up from his phone and say, "That's expected. Keep it up." No pat on the back. No pride. Just pressure. One Christmas, I remember Ryan casually mentioning he wanted a new phone. He got it within a week. I had been saving for a second-hand laptop for over a year. I was told, maybe next year. Money's tight. I'd nod like I understood, like it didn't sting, but inside, I'd be shrinking. Every time Ryan got to break curfew, crash the car, fail a class end somehow, it was never his fault. He had potential. He just needed support. Meanwhile, I was the kid who should know better, even when I did everything right. I buried myself in books and computers, hoping if I made myself useful, I'd be seen. But I never had his shine. I learned early that approval in my house wasn't earned, it was inherited, and Ryan inherited all of it. Still, I never hated him. Not then. I just thought he was lucky. I thought I was invisible. But looking back, I see it differently now. I didn't know it then. But Ryan wasn't just competitive. He was dangerous. And I was too naive to see the war he was already preparing to start. By the time I was 27, I had clawed my way through 2 degrees, 3 unpaid internships, and years of being the invisible kid who just works with computers. I'd finally gotten an offer that didn't just validate my career, it validated me. A top-tier tech firm had reached out after I presented at a startup conference, and they wanted me, not because of who I knew, not because of family connections, but because of what I built. The night I got the offer letter, I was so excited I could barely sleep. It was a remote-first role with a 6-figure starting salary, full benefits, and a relocation package if I ever wanted to move closer to their main office. For once, I felt like I wasn't just chasing success, I was living it. When I told my parents, my mom said, "That's nice, honey," like I had just announced I'd won a scratch-off ticket. My dad didn't even look up. "Well, let's see if you can keep it," he muttered. And Ryan, he actually smiled. Big to big dot. He clapped me on the back and said, "Look at you, little bro. Big tech money now, huh?" I thought he was being genuine. Stupidly, I even showed him the email. We were having beers in the backyard, and he asked casual questions: company name, team, onboarding date. I didn't think anything of it. "You think they'd ever be looking for someone in product design?" he asked, grinning. "Might be nice to work with you for once." I laughed and shrugged it off. Maybe I'll ask around once I settle in. I didn't know that by the time I went to sleep that night, Ryan had already started his plan, and that dream job, it was already slipping out of my hands. About a week before I was supposed to start the new job, I got an email that made my stomach turn. Subject: update regarding your employment status. I clicked it, still half asleep, expecting maybe a delay in onboarding or a request for more documents. Instead, it said, "After further review, we have decided to withdraw our offer of employment. We appreciate your interest and wish you the best in your future endeavors." No warning, no phone call, no explanation. Just like that, gone. I sat there staring at my screen, heart pounding. I called the HR rep, who had initially reached out to me, straight to voicemail. I emailed twice. Silence. Panic started to settle in. Had there been a mistake? A glitch in background checks. Some misunderstanding. I had no criminal record, no bad credit, nothing that should raise a flag. That's when I messaged an old friend from college. Benhu had referred me to the company in the first place. He worked in engineering, and we'd kept in touch over the years. I figured he could at least give me some context. His response came a few hours later, and hit me like a freight train. "Hey man, not sure what's going on, but someone from HR mentioned there were concerns about your history. They didn't go into detail, said it was a personal matter." I just sat there, numb. My history? What history? I racked my brain. Had I ever said anything online? Been hacked? Was there some identity mix-up? But then a darker thought crept in. Only one person had enough access to my personal details. Only one person had the motive, and only one person had smiled too hard when I told him I'd made it. Ryan, that's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was sabotage. I didn't want to believe it at first. I told myself I was overthinking, letting paranoia poison my brain. But the more I retraced my steps, the clearer it became. The only person I had shared the job offer details with was Ryan. Still, I needed confirmation. I called Ben again the next day and pushed him gently, asking if he'd heard anything else off the record. He hesitated. Look, man, someone contacted HR saying you had a recent drug problem, claimed you'd been in and out of rehab, said they were just looking out for the company. My blood ran cold. I've never even touched a joint, let alone hard drugs. I don't drink heavily. I've never been to therapy, let alone rehab. It was a complete lie fabricated out of thin air. I asked Ben if HR knew who sent it. They didn't say. It came from an anonymous Gmail, but whoever it was, they had your full name, your resume, and even mentioned your university. It sounded legit enough to shake them. I couldn't breathe for a second. My ears started ringing. I opened my laptop and searched my email inbox for anything unusual. No hacks, no alerts. Then I checked my sent folder. Nothing. Clean. That's when I remembered I had shown Ryan my full resume, my graduation year, my references, my start date, everything. He had it all. And somehow, he used it to create a version of me that didn't exist, one unfit to be hired. Why? For what? Just because I got something first for once. I paced my room in circles, fists clenched, heart slamming against my ribs. It wasn't just jealousy. It wasn't just rivalry. It was a targeted hit. And Ryan hadn't just taken my job, he'd scorched my name to do it. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation I'd ever had with Ryan, every smug comment, every backhanded compliment. The pieces were all there. I just hadn't wanted to see them by morning. I was running on caffeine and pure rage. I drove straight to my parents' house. Ryan still lived there, which, funny enough, was a fact my parents managed to ignore while constantly asking why I hadn't bought a house yet. My mom opened the door mid-sip of her tea. Oh, sweetheart. What a surprise. Where's Ryan? I asked, voice flat. She blinked, clearly caught off guard. He's in the kitchen. Why? I didn't answer. I walked past her and found him at the counter, toasting a bagel like he hadn't torched my life days ago. He looked up, startled, but quickly masked it with that familiar smirk. Morning, champ. Everything good? I stared at him. You sent that email, didn't you? He played dumb. What email? Don't you know exactly what I'm talking about? The job, the lies about rehab. You used my resume. You had every detail. He raised his hands. Whoa, okay. Conspiracy theorist? Maybe you should actually go to therapy. Asterisk, my dad walked in then, just in time to hear that line, and instead of asking what was going on, he frowned at me. What's this attitude? Don't come in here throwing accusations. I laughed, bitter and broken, of course. Golden boy can do no wrong, right? Ryan leaned back, arms crossed, smug as hell. Sounds like someone can't handle rejection. I left before I said something I couldn't take back. But as I passed by the living room, something caught my eye on the coffee table. Ryan's new work laptop, barely opened. And right there on the sticker was the logo of the company that had ghosted me. He hadn't just sabotaged me. He stole the life I was supposed to have. I went home shaking, not from fear, but from something colder. Focused, I knew now that Ryan hadn't just tried to block me. He had studied me, impersonated me, and buried me with a smile on his face. And I wanted proof, not just for me, for everyone who'd called me paranoid, so I started digging. I remembered something Ben said, that the anonymous email came from a Gmail address. So I opened a new account, created a burner identity, and started phishing. I sent a fake email to the hiring company's HR department, pretending to be a concerned ex-worker, asking if they'd received the tip about me. 2 days later, I got a generic reply, but it confirmed something important. The email had come from a Gmail address tied to a name, suspiciously close to mine, just a slight misspelling. I used that alias and ran it through a data leak checker. It was linked to a recovery phone number. One I recognized, Ryan's. That was my first hit. Then I remembered he used to sync his phone to our old family iPad. I still had access. I dusted it off, powered it up, and found it still connected to his backup Gmail. There it was, drafts, deleted messages. One in particular made my blood freeze. It read, "Hi, I'm writing to flag some concerns about a candidate named My Name. He's relapsed recently and is unstable. Just wanted to do the right thing." There were fake rehab bills attached. Fake therapy appointment, screenshots, all designed to look real. I sat there in silence, staring at the glowing screen. I screen recorded everything, saved backups, printed it out. He wanted to destroy me with lies. But now I had the truth. And I wasn't just going to use it. I was going to weaponize it. I could have gone nuclear right then, forwarded the evidence to HR, posted the screenshots online, exposed him to our entire family. But that would have been too easy for Ryan. He'd spin it, cry sabotage, make me look unhinged. No. He needed to fall publicly, professionally, on record. So I waited first. I confirmed through Ben that Ryan hadn't officially started the job yet. He was still in the background check and onboarding phase. That gave me time. I looked into the company's hiring policies, found names of team leads on LinkedIn, even dug up the company's internal whistleblower. Email address, and then came the unexpected twist while researching their leadership team. I saw a name I recognized, Marissa T., head of talent acquisition. She had attended the same university I did. I remembered her because she had spoken at a student career panel years ago, back when I was still invisible, taking notes in the back row, so I took a shot. I wrote her a direct email, not dramatic, not emotional, just facts. I attached the doctored emails, linked the fake Gmail recovery phone to Ryan, explained how he used my resume to apply after discrediting me, and closed with, "I thought your company should know the truth about who you're hiring and who you turned away." To my surprise, she responded the same day. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. This is being taken very seriously. Please do not engage further with the subject. We'll be in touch." They were moving, quietly, quickly, and without warning. And as much as I wanted to watch Ryan panic, I kept silent because now the fall wouldn't just come from me. It was going to come from the very people he'd lied to impress. I found myself sitting in my car outside my parents' house, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. My chest was tight, my head pounding. I didn't know why I was there. Maybe part of me still hoped someone would finally see what was happening. Inside, it was the usual Sunday chaos. Mom cooking, Dad in the recliner. Ryan Center, stage telling some loud story about onboarding paperwork and how the HR lady practically begged me to join. I stood in the doorway like a ghost, watching them hang on his every word. Then Mom turned to me with her usual smile. "Oh, you're here. Come congratulate your brother. He's finally stepping into the big leagues." Ryan smirked, eyes locking with mine like he was daring me to speak. "Tough industry, huh? Not everyone makes the cut." My mouth went dry. My heart screamed to expose him. I wanted to shout everything, pull out the receipts, slam them on the dinner table, and finally make them believe me. But instead, I just stood there, silent, like I had my whole life. I left without saying a word, drove aimlessly, ended up in a grocery store parking lot at midnight, crying into the steering wheel like a broken man. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Why do they never see me? Why does he always win?" That night was my rock bottom. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about decades of being overlooked, ignored, erased. I sat there for hours in that car, engine off, phone in my lap, thinking about how easy it would be to just disappear. But then I opened the email from Marissa. Again, her words hit different now. This is being taken very seriously. I wiped my face. They were going to see him for who he really was. 3 days after that breakdown, I woke up to a new email notification. The sender's name made my pulse quicken, Marissa T., head of talent acquisition. The message was brief, professional, but heavy. "Thank you for your patience. We have concluded our internal review. The evidence you provided has been verified. We'd appreciate if you could join a short call today for context and formal confirmation." My hands shook as I typed back. I scheduled the call for 2 p.m. Then I sat there in my small apartment, staring at the clock, feeling every second crawl. When the call started, there were two people on the screen, Marissa, calm and serious, and a man from corporate legal. "We appreciate your integrity," she said. "It appears Mr. Ryan Miller applied using falsified information, including employment history that doesn't exist, and fraudulent documents connected to your personal details." I stayed quiet, just nodding, letting the truth finally echo through official channels. "Mr. Miller will be notified today," she continued. "We can't share further details, but we wanted you to know your name has been cleared in full." I thanked them and logged off. My body felt weightless, like years of pressure had been lifted, but also replaced with a quiet, simmering satisfaction. 2 hours later, I got a text from Ben. "Ben, dude, you won't believe this. HR just escorted Ryan out. Full-on scene. People are talking." I stared at the message, rereading it over and over, my chest rising and falling in slow, measured breaths. I didn't respond right away. I just closed my eyes and pictured it. Ryan's smug grin, twisting into panic as everything he stole crumbled in front of him. The golden child finally exposed under fluorescent lights, and I didn't even have to lift a finger. I wasn't going to show up. I told myself I'd gotten what I wanted, that revenge had been served, and that walking away was the mature thing to do. But something in me couldn't let it go, not after everything he took. So I dressed in the same button-down I was going to wear on my first day at that job, the one that was supposed to be mine. I slicked my hair back, put on my best poker face, and drove across town to Ryan's new office building. I timed it perfectly. Ben had messaged that Ryan was being called into a final onboarding meeting. I waited just outside the glass-walled lobby, pretending to scroll through my phone. Then I saw him, Ryan, walking through the doors like he owned the place. Laptop bag slung over his shoulder, still playing the role. 2 HR reps flanked him. One had a manila folder. The other wore an expression I recognized: controlled, corporate disappointment. They paused near reception. One of them whispered something. Ryan's smile faltered. He glanced up, and for a second our eyes met, his face drained of color. "What the hell is this?" he said, just loud enough for me to hear. They didn't answer. One motioned toward the door. Ryan protested louder this time. "You're making a mistake. This is a setup." People were watching now. Phones subtly recording. Employees whispering, and me standing outside the glass, calm, silent. Ryan turned one last time, looking for someone to blame, to save him, to believe his story. I didn't move. I just stood there, letting him see me, letting him know. He once said I'd never outshine him, but now he was the one being marched out in shame, and I hadn't said a single word. After that day, something in me shifted. I wasn't angry anymore, not in that raw, bone-deep way that used to wake me up at night. I was empty, maybe, but also lighter. Like I'd finally stopped dragging a dead weight behind me. Word got around fast. Ryan wasn't just fired. He was blacklisted. Apparently, HR flagged his resume across multiple departments, and the legal team issued a quiet internal alert to avoid future liability. It wasn't public, but in our field, reputations travel fast, and his was scorched. I didn't speak to him, not when he texted some half-baked apology, not when my mom called, crying, saying, "Your brother made a mistake." But you didn't have to ruin his future. That one hurt, even after all the lies. The betrayal, the sabotage, they still saw him as the victim. I realized then I'd been chasing something I'd never get. Their approval, their belief, their love. So I stopped chasing. I refocused. I updated my resume, cleaned up my portfolio, reached out to a few old connections, including one from that startup conference months ago. And then, out of nowhere, I got a call. It was Marissa. She'd left the company and joined a new tech firm as VP of People. "We're building something better," she said. "I'd like you to be part of it." This time, there was no hesitation, no fear of it being ripped away. I started 2 weeks later. Better, the title. Higher, the team. Supportive. For once, I didn't feel like I was clawing my way to worth. I was worth it. And not because they said so, but because I'd survived everything trying to prove I wasn't. My story wasn't about Ryan anymore. It was mine now. It happened months later when I wasn't even thinking about him anymore. I was grabbing coffee on a slow Saturday, standing in line behind a woman trying to wrangle 2 toddlers, when I heard a familiar voice behind the counter. "What can I get started for you?" I looked up, and there he was. Ryan, hair a little longer, eyes sunken, apron slightly crooked. He saw me the moment I stepped forward, froze like a deer about to bolt. I swear, for a second, we both forgot how to breathe. He tried to play it cool. "Hey man, wow, been a while." I didn't smile, didn't nod, just looked him dead in the eye. "Yeah, it has?" He chuckled nervously. "Guess things didn't really work out. Some people at that company had it out for me. Real political." I raised an eyebrow. "Or maybe lying caught up to you." He flinched, just slightly. Then he leaned in, lowering his voice. "Look, I messed up, okay?" I panicked. I wanted a shot. I thought if I could just get my foot in the door, I could make it work. I looked at him for a long moment, and then I said, quiet and even, "You burned my name to the ground to build a bridge for yourself, and when it collapsed, you expected me to carry you across." He didn't answer. I grabbed my coffee and walked out. No drama, no raised voice, just truth. Outside, the air felt colder. I took a sip, stared out at the quiet morning traffic, and realized something I hadn't before. He forged fake receipts to steal my future, but I showed up with the real ones, and now he was stuck behind a counter while I was finally building the life. He tried to take from me the story was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming my name, and I did,